Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. This is our Simple Abundance year and we are following along with Sarah Ban Breathnach's book, Simple Abundance. And look at these pretty flowers. Hopefully you can see some of them. We have had some unseasonably freezing weather over the last 48 hours, so I've been bringing my patio plants inside, and it's actually pretty nice to have the colors in here. And as I was looking at the table that I had them on, I thought, oh, I'm gonna do my video right there. And I'm sitting in a chair that I don't normally sit in. Remember in the last video when we talked about feng shui, that was one of the things to kind of get the energy moving around. So have you thought about any of those feng shui things? Have you moved anything around yet? Remember, the goal is 27 items. And have you been thinking about the house of belonging and thinking about how it feels to be home, whether home alone or with someone else? Hope you're enjoying the home entries. I'm enjoying them. I've been thinking a lot about everything. There's one thing in the older book, the Day Book of Comfort and Joy, that I sometimes pull from. There's an entry that she pulled out. And I think now that I'm reading more into the new book, I think she's eliminated some of the ones that were from her earlier life. Like this one that she pulled that she doesn't have in the new book has her husband mentioned, and I don't think they're together anymore. And then some of the other ones, when her daughter was really young, she's updated them to their new relationship with her daughter being an adult. But anyway, this one that was in the old book on May 6th is after the fact. It's called The Art of Decorative Detection. And she talks about a story, how it took her, I don't know, 15 or 16 years to part with these hideous lamps that she didn't like at all. And, you know, I think they were like family heirlooms or something like that. And she told her husband, like, I can't stand these lamps for one more day. And he was kind of like, well, I didn't want to say anything, but I've never really liked them, but I thought you liked them, you know? And he was saying to her, it really took you 15, 16, whatever years to get to the point where you just were like so exasperated that you said that, you know? And so she was looking at it through his eyes, and it made me think about some things. I'm sure you can think about some things too, where maybe you've held on to something. It might be like a gift somebody gave you, or a piece of artwork that, you know, was maybe even painted by a relative or something, and really it's not like anything that you would have ever chosen for your home. So I've been thinking about some of these things. I definitely let go of some of those things in the past, and even most recently, someone in my life asked me about something that they had made for me a few years ago, and I did get a lot of use out of it. But really, like when I moved almost 4 years ago now, I did part with really anything that I was not using anymore, or that I just felt like it was maybe from another part of my life and I was ready to move on and make a fresh start. So I did have to say to that person, you know, on my last interstate move, I really parted with a lot of things, and they graciously understood. And I did say I enjoyed using it for many years, but it was time to move on. And honestly, you know, if you think about like with even the feng shui stuff, and later on we're going to be talking more about the real art of letting go. And when you think about some of those things and having the energetic qualities to them too, if they are connected to old things in the past, even like our clothes, we'd had that discussion, underwear too, you know, there might be memories or something that you have in those clothes that it's time to move on and make room for new things, right? Yeah, that's a lot of what letting go is. Oh, I forgot, I was gonna lead with this, but I'll tell you now. You know about my affirmation deck, and if you don't know about it, you can go back and watch that entry. That was in early March that I shared that. And these are 2 new ones, and I occasionally will hear something and I'll write it down, and so I've had these 2 that I've wanted to make into cards for a while. This is the first one. Authenticity is the greatest beauty. Isn't that awesome? I love that one. I feel like I want to make it like my second card in the deck, because I've been working so much on my self-love and body image and all the things that I shared with you that I struggle so much with. And so it's really interesting the way YouTube's algorithm will suggest things to you on your home page too in the app. Hi. Because there have been a lot of videos about things like self-care, self-love. There was an awesome one that, probably because I had mentioned the Neale Donald Walsh book, that there was like one seminar he gave, and it just, sometimes when you're watching a video, it just starts playing the next one, you know, it'll be like autoplay. So I ended up watching that hour-and-a-half thing from Neale Donald Walsh and journaling about all the things that I was getting out of it. And so this one did come out of a video. It wasn't attributed to anybody. It was just a statement that a coach was making about beauty, and beauty being more than skin deep, really being from the inside out. And I've really worked so hard this year to tap into my authenticity. I have lived from that place in a long time, but I've suppressed some things. And this year I'm just like, I am done apologizing. I'm done. Like, this is me. You know, I can learn and I can grow, and if there's something that I need to fix or do better, then please tell me and I will work on that, and I will authentically take that in. But if it's something that I feel like I'm being genuinely honest, or I'm telling you that you hurt me or something like that in some way, I'm not going to apologize for that anymore. If I don't speak my truth, and I'm sorry, that's really a phrase that's used a lot these days, but if I don't speak my truth, then I just implode. And Sarah talks about that a lot. So authenticity is the greatest beauty. Isn't that awesome? And then this is another one. I am sacred, precious, and divine. So simple, but it's another one of those like goddess, feminine empowerment, I guess, or embodiment statements. So those are 2 new ones for my happy, good feeling deck that I will start the day with. Let's see, the last couple of days in the new book that we're following along with, yesterday was a welcome retreat, home as a haven in a hectic world. And that's another thing to think about, even beyond belonging and feeling at home. How can your house become a haven in this hectic world, for sure? What is it? What are some things that would make it more comfortable and inviting? Maybe I've been thinking a lot about the senses since we just went through those last month. Maybe it's smells that you like. Maybe it's things cooking on the stove that are going to be tantalizing to the senses, and then you're going to taste them, enjoy them. I've really been starting to think about a lot of memories from growing up, because I think that's sometimes where your at-home feeling comes from, right? So I've been thinking about some things, and a lot of it involves food, but you know, just like that Saturday morning feeling of pancakes or French toast, and Sunday afternoons we always had grilled cheese. You know, there's certain things like that that I associate that with a feeling of home, or like the fireplace going, or that wood stove smell. So again, there's a lot of smells and tastes and things. And just that feeling of the at-home feeling, I think for me, a lot of it is that what I said when I was talking about my own house, where I have that, I'm home. I feel like I had a lot of that growing up. I think some of it changed a lot when I lost my mom at a young age, And home definitely changed after that. But when I think back to those early years when that feeling of home and belonging, you hope you feel like you belong in your family, but when all those things were formed for me, I've really been diving into that and what that means and how I can incorporate that and how those things can become a haven for me in this time in my life too. What do you think? Have you been thinking about all these things? These are great journal exploration exercises. And then today's entry is called Everyday Edens, Spending Another Day in Paradise. So I'm not going to read from either of those entries, but today's entry is kind of an interesting tie-in with all the stuff we're talking about, because here we are talking about feng shui, and we're talking about like purging the things that bother us about the house or getting rid of clutter and stuff like that. And then in today's entry about another day in paradise, and of course we think of Eden, right, as far as like the Garden of Eden. She's talking more about a house being lived in. So maybe it's a crazy time and your kids are just throwing stuff everywhere, and it's like you're pulling out your hair just trying to keep the house clean. And then you look around and you're like, this is wonderful living room, and this is like where we do fun stuff, and who cares if there's stuff all over the place. Like, this is my paradise. So it's embracing those things that maybe you can't have the picture perfect, from a magazine book house. That's what I meant to say. Like, maybe you can't have that perfect look that you are hoping for because there's circumstances like that, or your spouse's is really messy or something. But it's kind of having some grace for those things and just looking at how everything that may be around is stuff that goes to your happiness. Like, there's games around and books that are read and blankets that you guys were snuggling under, cat hair for sure in my house. And I've given up on that. I try to vacuum it when I can, but that's like, to me, that is like my everyday haven, because I love Annabelle and she gets it all over me too. So what is your everyday Eden experience? And that's kind of a good tie-in here with the Garden of Eden and the flowers and stuff too, because actually, and I've been looking in both books to try to cross-reference, because I don't remember there being an entry about, like, I guess there would be an entry called curb appeal in my mind, because not only are we talking about the internal house within us, we're talking about the internal parts of our house, but what about the external parts? I know for me, I take so much pleasure in my garden. I wish I lived in a climate where I could have more of a garden all year. What is she doing now? Yeah. You gonna be distracting again? I'm wondering what she's gonna do about these flowers too. If she's pretty good. I don't know if she'll try to dig in them or something while they're here. I do need to get them back outside. Anyway, I got distracted by her. But the yard can be something that takes a little while to get to where you want to be. It's unless you have like a landscaping crew at your convenience and you can just have them do it. Usually you are gonna have to do like one little area a year maybe, and like, oh, this year I want to do a raised flower bed, and this year I want to put up like a rock wall, and and it's fun to do that, right? So the process of it is fun. Hi. So think about the curb appeal too, because you want to feel good about the exterior parts of your house and the outside spaces that you're taking advantage of too. Like, if you go out in your backyard and there's just like trash around, or your view is like, I lived in a place, it was a very nice place I lived in, but then my view was like, my neighbors had every sort of like, they even had an RV in their backyard at one point, and they had like every sort of kids thing, like those plastic houses and all this stuff, and like kids screaming and everything. And I asked my landlord at the time, I was like, can you put up some arborvitae or something? Because it was like, I felt like I just couldn't even be enjoying like being outside because my view was something like that. So that's kind of hard when you have extenuating circumstances like that, like if it's your neighbors. But maybe it's a matter of like patching up your grass, or making a little flower bed, or getting some things like a bird bath and doing little accents around it. And then in the front, like maybe it's redoing the walkway. We talked about in feng shui how you want to have a clear path to your front door. So maybe it is getting things spruced up, putting some window boxes on the house. I don't know. There's all kinds of fun little house projects you can do. I saw one in the comments that said that she was working on a lot of house projects, and that really goes far with the home love that we're talking about. I hope you're really feeling like, just like we came alive with the senses, I hope you're really connecting with your home and evaluating what you like, what you don't like, what you might want to bring in from the past as you're exploring some of these things that make you remember what that feeling of home is like. Maybe it wasn't from your childhood, maybe it was just earlier in your life. I have a close friend who I've just known within the last 10 years, and I didn't know her when her kids were young, but she's talked about how her life was so different, when her kids were young, and maybe that's her memory of that feeling of home, and it doesn't go back to childhood in that case. So it, like, whatever that connection is that you feel like, this is when I felt like I was at home, and I was tucking my kids in at night, and I was, it's hard to recreate those things when the kids are grown now, but what is it that you can bring in to remind you of those times and to give you those feelings again? I don't know, it's something to sit with. Hope you're all having a great weekend so far, and remember, we are here on our journey with Sarah's principles: joy, harmony, beauty, order, simplicity, and gratitude. And there's so much of that in these house entries. I will see you tomorrow for a special entry about Mother's Day and mother's love, and hope you all join me then again. Thanks so much for being here, and please like and subscribe. Love to see your comments too. I look forward to them. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.